Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very warm welcome. Today we're diving into a story from the Quran, from Surah Al Kahf, that is just incredibly profound. It's a journey that really forces us to look past the obvious and teaches us a powerful lesson about the wisdom that's so often hidden just beneath the surface.
So let's start with a question, a big one that really gets to the heart of this whole story. Is it possible for an act that looks destructive, maybe even terrible, to actually be an act of kindness? It's a tough idea to wrap your head around, so just keep that question in mind as we go through this together.
All right, so our story has two main characters. First, we have the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, a man of immense faith, but he's searching for a deeper kind of knowledge. And to find it, he seeks out this mysterious guide, a figure known as Al Khidr, who possesses a special wisdom, knowledge of the unseen, the hidden why behind events. Now, before they even start their journey, the guide sets one condition. It's the central rule for everything that's about to happen. He tells Moses, "You must have absolute patience. You cannot question anything you see me do, no matter how strange or upsetting it seems, until I decide it's time to explain." That's the deal.
And well, it doesn't take long at all for that promise of patience to be put to a serious test. So let's get right into the first event on their journey, one that immediately challenges Moses' understanding of right and wrong.
So they board a boat, getting a ride from some poor fishermen. And while they're out on the water, the guy does something that honestly looks completely crazy. He starts to damage the boat, to make a hole in it. It seems like a totally random, senseless act of destruction.
Moses just can't believe his eyes. He sees the water coming in, he sees the danger to everyone on board, and his promise of patience just goes right out the window. He blurts out, "What are you doing? Are you trying to drown everyone? This is a terrible thing." I mean, you can't really blame him, right?
And right here, we see the whole point of the story in a nutshell. What Moses saw was a dangerous, harmful act. But the hidden wisdom? It was actually an act of mercy. You see, further down the river, a tyrant king was seizing every single seaworthy boat by force. By putting a small hole in this one, the guide made it look flawed and worthless, saving it from being stolen from its poor owners. The guide's response is so calm, so direct. He just says, "Didn't I tell you that you wouldn't be able to have patience with me?" It's not a scolding, really. It's more like a gentle reminder of what this journey is all about, learning to trust that there's a reason for things, even when you can't see it.
Moses feels it immediately. He realizes his mistake, his very human reaction, and he's humbled. He apologizes, blaming his own forgetfulness, and asks for another chance. He's still eager to learn, even after failing the first test. Okay, so now we move on to the second test. And if you thought the first one was jarring, well, buckle up. This next event is deeply, genuinely shocking. The stakes just got a whole lot higher.
After they leave the boat, they come across the young boy. And then, with absolutely no warning, no explanation, the guide kills him. It's just a stark, brutal, and completely incomprehensible moment. This time, Moses is horrified beyond belief. For him, killing an innocent soul is one of the gravest sins imaginable. The promise of patience is shattered by the sheer shock of what he's just witnessed. He confronts the guide, saying this act is nothing short of deplorable.
And this, right here, is where the story really pushes us to the edge of our understanding. Moses sees an unjustifiable murder, an innocent life taken. But the hidden wisdom was that this boy was destined to grow up and bring immense grief and disbelief to his righteous parents. This shocking act, as hard as it is to process, was a mercy to them, preventing that future sorrow and allowing God to grant them a better child in his place.
And there it is again. The guide repeats the exact same words as before. But this time, they feel heavier, don't they? The repetition is powerful. It really drives home the lesson that this kind of knowledge requires a level of trust that goes way beyond human logic or what our eyes can see.
At this point, Moses knows he's failed twice. He's so aware of his own weakness, but so desperate to keep learning that he sets his own consequence. He tells the guide, "If I ask you about anything after this, then that's it. Don't keep me with you." He basically puts himself on his last chance.
So this brings us to the third and final test. This one isn't violent or life-threatening, but it challenges Moses' sense of fairness and common sense in a completely different way.
They arrive at a town, tired and hungry, and the people there are just awful. They refuse them food, they refuse them water, they offer no hospitality at all. But as they're leaving this unwelcoming place, The guide spots a wall that's about to collapse, and he stops to repair it for free.
And for the third and final time, Moses can't hold his tongue. This time, it's not moral outrage. It's just pure confusion. He says, "You could have at least charged them for that. I mean, it makes sense, right? Why do a good deed for people who were so unkind to them?"
But you know the drill by now. There was a deeper reason. What looked like a wasted effort on ungrateful people was actually an act of preservation. You see, hidden under that wall was a treasure that a righteous man had left for his 2 young orphan sons. By fixing the wall, the guide was protecting their inheritance, keeping it safe until they were old enough to claim it.
And with that third question, the agreement was broken. Their journey together was over. The guide then explained the wisdom behind all 3 actions. So, after all that, what's the big takeaway from these 3 baffling tests?
So let's just recap real quick. We have a damaged boat, a life taken, and a repaired wall. On the surface, these actions seem illogical, immoral, or just plain wasteful. They make no sense from a normal human perspective.
But the lesson woven through all of them is so deep. It's that what looks like harm can actually hide a much deeper wisdom. It teaches us that real knowledge isn't just about what we can prove, but about having the patience and trust to accept that there's a bigger picture we can't always see. And maybe the most challenging idea of all, what looks like a terrible injustice to us, might, from a divine perspective, be an act of profound mercy.
And that really brings it all back to us, doesn't it? This story isn't just a tale from the past, it's a mirror for our own lives. So the question I want to leave you with is this: when have you been deceived by appearances? Think about a time in your own life when something seemed like an absolute disaster, but looking back, you realized it was a hidden blessing.